Hello and welcome to Mellow Labs. On today's episode, I'm coming back to a project that basically started this entire channel, brought to you by Patreon. Since a lot of you are new here, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm referring to Zippy. Zippy is my little 3D printed RC tank that got very popular on Reddit and then got me into the Magpie magazine. Look, here I am. It's issue 110 of the Magpie magazine. I'm very proud. Zippy was powered by a Raspberry Pi Zero, and I used my Xbox controller to control him. And a little while back, I thought I'd rejuvenate him and give him a bunch more abilities like line tracking and distance awareness, but all of that failed, and since then Zippy has been in hiding. Zippy? Not in here either. Zippy? Nope. Not in here. By the way, join me next week on my live stream. I'll be disassembling the Sprinter. Zippy, 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 Zippy. Where did you go? Oh, there you are. I have never seen a sadder looking little robot. So, what is my plan for Zippy? Well, I want to make him operational. There was a lot of problems running it with a Raspberry Pi. For example, sometimes the controller wouldn't connect and you'd have to SSH into him. I don't want to deal with all that. I want him to be a bit more like my Star Wars droid, where I can turn on the controller, turn him on, they connect, and I can drive him around. Mostly because I want to bring him and my Star Wars droid to things like Maker Central and let people just have a go riding him around. Welcome to my 8-point plan to make Zippy operational again for the final time. Hopefully. Brought to you by my Patreon supporters. Thank you so much to all of these people. I couldn't be able to do this without them. Thank you. Number 1, we're going to take him apart and clean him. Number 2, we're going to install new 3D printed parts. Number 3, we're going to install new electronics. Number 4, we're going to install new batteries, which really should be just part of the electronics, so let's count this as one. Making a remote, I'm going to make a custom remote control for him. That breaks down into other tasks, but we'll get to that. Then I need to redesign the graphics that were on him, because for a while he's just been kind of naked. And then we're going to write some code, test the code, and when eventually the code doesn't work, we're just going to repeat it in a loop. So, number 1, let's go. Okay, so this part was actually a lot more boring than I expected. I completely took Zippy apart to its individual components. I started sanding them down, mostly just to get rid of all the dirt that was on him and stuff like that. And then I put it back together with all the new pieces. Alright, we've got objective number 1 and number 2 done, so now onto the electronics! First of all, I'm getting rid of the LiPo battery. I'm scared of it. I'm always worried I'm gonna puncture it and it's gonna blow up. So instead, I'm using 18650s in a 12 volt configuration, and I think that should last long enough to play around for most of the day. We'll find out. I'm still using the same 300 RPM motors. They're plenty fast enough and they work. I'm still going to be using the regular basic 12 volt motor driver because it's pretty good. It works just like I need it to. The only problem is it does get a little bit hot, that's why I installed the fan, but to better combat that, I will be giving it a slightly bigger heatsink, like 3 times as big. And that's mostly because I want to get rid of this fan. It's not because it's too loud or anything, I just don't think it should need it. I installed it back when there was a Raspberry Pi in here, and that also got pretty hot. But now it's kind of just a waste of a fan, really. The brains of the entire operation will be this ESP8266 Node MCU prototype board thing. I would use the D1 Mini, but recently I've had some problems with them and I don't trust them right now. And the rest of the stuff in here is just the stuff I need for the remote. You see, Zippy's controls are very basic. I mean, it's only backwards forwards on this side and backwards forwards on this side. So I'm literally just going to use 4 push buttons. When I was using the controller, I wasn't using the joysticks or anything. I was just using the shoulder buttons and that was kind of it. So I'm just going to have a tiny version of a controller with 2 buttons either side for backwards and forwards, and then you could just make him do everything he can with those 4 buttons. On top here, the only things that we have is the fan, which we'll be getting rid of. We've got the on and off switch and the indicator LED, which is actually very useful for indicating stuff like the controller's not connected or maybe low battery, although I don't know if I'm going to have that one yet. I'm going to put the batteries at the very bottom on the bottom plate so that when I do need to change them, I don't have to open the top, I can just like open the bottom plate, and then because they're going to be stacked down, I can just remove the whole thing. So that would be nice. First thing I got to do is connect these two battery holders together, and that just means taking this black one and connecting it there, and getting rid of this one, so that when I connect these two into the motor driver, we actually have 12 volts. So now I've got all the batteries in, and I should be getting a 12 volt output, unless I've done something very horribly wrong. There we go, 15 volts. I did fully charge these batteries, so they are very amped right now. With them working, I can glue them onto this cover. Whilst I'm waiting for that to heat up, I'm gonna swap the heatsink on the motor driver. I did have to grind it a little bit because it was making contact with diodes on either side of the board. Hopefully that works better than the original one. Since we're still waiting, let's put the motors in place. Yes, I also think it's very funny that I took it all apart, put it all back together, and now I'm taking it apart again so that I can put the electronics in. Right, one motor goes in there, the other motor won't fit in because the other one blocks it. Oh, I'm gonna have to take the whole back out. And they just hold in place with 3M screws. Okay, lovely. Can put that back on. Originally there was a little plastic piece that went from the motor to this, but it kept wearing out. So I made it out of metal. It was very annoying. It's very thin. I wish I could make it better. So that goes in the wheel like that, and then that goes on here. And that transfers all that motor torque into the wheel. Exactly the same on the other side. Track goes on first. Make sure it's the right way. Put the wheel on. There we go. Beautiful. And the cover. Alright, back to the batteries now that my hot glue is dripping. A little bit of Monica in my life. That is way too much hot glue. And that can go there. Beautiful. Let's give that a minute to settle. So annoyingly, I haven't gotten this far into my planning stage. So okay, so I think I have somewhat of a plan. This is going to go on there, which is going to slide into this slot there. And then this is going to go like on here. But I need to make a prototype PCB board that will actually have like connectors for the LEDs and for the off switch. I mean, the off switch doesn't really need to. It's just going to go between the batteries and the motor driver. But yeah, so I need a connection between 5 volts and ground from here going into here. And these 4 connectors. Okay, so I need to make a prototype PCB board. I realized that that was a terrible way of describing what I was doing. I'm essentially just making a small breakout board so that I can use connectors instead of soldering cables directly to the board for all the other components. Day 2. I ran out of steam yesterday, but I should have enough energy to actually finish it today. Right, where did we get yesterday? The electronics for the inside of him are pretty much done. I reprinted the cover for the top of it. It's yellow because I ran out of white filament. It does kind of look like he's riding around with a slice of cheese on his head, but that's okay because I should be putting graphics on top of it, so hopefully we won't be able to see it. I also got kind of started on the remote. I put the buttons and the Raspberry Pi Pico W in the right place, and then I printed like a cute little case for it. It's going to be a very basic remote. I kind of want to be able to see the electronics, so it's just going to be like this, and there's going to be a battery pack at the back like that. So yeah, right, so what am I doing? I need to drill some holes in this so that I can put the switch and the LED on top of that. So let's do that. I'm trying really hard not to split it in half because that's what happened to this one. Yeah, this was the last of my white filament. There's like 3 different filaments in here, which is probably why it did this. But yeah, it just ripped apart in the middle. Perfect. All I'm doing here is just gluing down the electronics onto the top cover. I realize I probably shouldn't be gluing them down, but using something like heat inserts, but the panel wasn't thick enough for them and I didn't really want to reprint another one. Plus I can just remove it with some isopropyl alcohol, so it's not that big of an issue. Alright, after almost 2 days, Zippy has all of his parts inside of him. Hip hip hooray! So, many hours later, we've done the electronics for Zippy, and I've also designed and printed a case for the remote. So now, we just need to make the electronics for the remote. Once again, I'm just going to skip through this bit. I'm just connecting buttons to GPI opens. Alrighty, so the remote is finished. Let's go ahead and do the graphics. I don't have much to say about my design process. I pretty much just tried recreating the original Zippy skin. Cha-chow! The graphics are done. He looks beautiful. So now we can get into integration hell. See you in however long that takes. So I was expecting this to actually be like a challenge, but pretty much all I did was copy the code from him and from the remote for him to him, and just like changed a few variables because like he doesn't use servos, he just uses regular motors. But like apart from that, that was pretty much it. I mostly just copied over the code. I did of course change the network name because like if I left it the same, then I wouldn't be able to control them separately. They would just run off the same remote, which would be interesting. Maybe one day. Right, so integration hell wasn't actually as bad as I thought, and that means the list is complete. Zippy is ready to go, so let's take him on a walk. I decided to take Zippy out to the park and just kind of test and see how he does with like different terrain types. Let's give it a go. I'm gonna turn him on. Hopefully the batteries are still alive. Wait for him to connect. It's connected. Let's go. Okay, relatively short grass. Relatively short grass is fine. Let's go find some other terrain. This is Zippy on slightly rugged terrain. He's actually doing better than I expected. Oh. No, he's fighting through it. Okay, Zippy on slightly rugged terrain. Works. Let's find more terrain. Okay, Zippy versus a pile of somewhat wet leaves. Not a problem. Not a single problem, Zippy. I think I might have accidentally made Zippy good. Zippy versus some roots. God damn, not a problem. God damn, you're pretty good. Nope, can't do the tree. Good enough. For my next test, tarmac and speed bump. Let's go, Zippy. He can do tarmac. No competition. Speed bumps have been made redundant. Zippy does not care for them. It does not even slow him down. Let's keep going. So Zippy can most definitely not go up the stairs, but let's see if he can gracefully go down the stairs. The answer is yes. Bit of an unlikely scenario, but let's see if he can go down the tree. He can go down, can't come back up. So another thing I want to test is Zippy's range. It's just running Wi-Fi, and I have no idea how far he can go. So let's test it. Can't even see him anymore. He's like a speck. God damn. He's still going though. I'm gonna call that quits because he did some stuff by himself a second ago. Yeah, it takes him a while to get commands now. He's still going further though. I'm gonna call that quits, and we're gonna walk over to him in big steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 50, 51, 51 and a half. God damn! That's somewhat impressive. So another thing I want to test him on is gravel. I don't think he's going to have too much trouble like riding on top of this. He had a lot of trouble when we were on the beach with like the really chunky rocks. I think this is just going to be fine for him. He doesn't even care. Alright, let's go home. And with that, thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to meet Zippy in person, I'm going to be down at Maker Central. I'm going to bring him along. If you'd like to support me doing the weird things I do on this channel, consider becoming a Patreon member or a channel member. Yes, I am now a YouTube partnership program person. I don't know what the term is. I'm part of the YouTube partnership program, which means I actually get paid to do this kind of now somehow. So it's a job. Anywho, become a member, get a plaque. It's not finished yet, but it's going to be on my wall. It's going to be LEDs. It's going to look really cool. But yeah, support me. Thank you. Till next time. Live stream. Don't forget it. Next week, live stream.